All achievement, all earned riches have their beginning in an idea. Written famously by Napoleon Hill, who is also the author of Think and Grow Rich, Hill authored one of the classic books for success-minded individuals. Napoleon Hill knew something of success as he interviewed 500 of the leading business people in the early 20th century. In his book, Hill identifies the key characteristic necessary for development of true riches. It's summarized in one word: think. Have you ever studied the importance of your thoughts to this degree? Have you ever considered how important your mind is? Have you ever pondered just how powerful an idea or thought can truly be? A phrase common to the American vernacular, "a mind is a terrible thing to waste," was developed by the American Negro Fund, a charity dedicated to empowering minority students. Since its inception 30 years ago, it has raised over $2.2 billion and helped to graduate over 250,000 minority students. The phrase, "made by Edison, installed by Barnes," was developed out of a relationship sought after by a young man named Barnes. With no money, no contacts, and no natural reason to be offered a job, let alone a partnership, Barnes was so determined to meet Edison that although he had no money, he traveled on the freight train as blind baggage. Edison recounts how this young man showed up looking like nothing more than a mere tramp. Yet in Barnes' eyes, Edison saw a certain insatiable desire to obtain his goal, and Edison hired him to sweep the floors. A long way from his sought-after goal, Barnes swept those floors with intensity, unwilling to lose the chance not only to work for Edison, but to meet his influential friends. Barnes literally thought himself into relationship with Edison. He was not willing to give up on his idea of partnership with this great inventor. Barnes' opportunity came 2 years later, and as is typical with opportunity, it slid in the back door, disguised as defeat. Edison invented a new dictating machine, and not one of Edison's current associates saw its potential, except for one young man. Barnes saw the potential of this machine to revolutionize the lifestyle of the business executive, and he set about developing his business plan. So thorough was his plan that Edison could not deny him the opportunity, and Barnes made millions on his first partnership deal. Barnes' success can be attributed mainly to 12 key habits that he consistently exhibited with great intensity. They were: he knew what he wanted to accomplish. He used the power of imagination to circumvent poverty and other difficulties. He was willing to start at the bottom in order to gain know-how and exposure. He created and seized opportunity. He maintained a dogged determination to bring his goal to reality. He worked long hours with concentrated focus for many years to get just exactly what he wanted. And he talked relatively little and produced big. He was not deterred by ridicule, criticism, setback, or obstacles. Barnes created ideas and made them happen. And that's why I've named this program Divinely Inspired Ideas for Life. Not only do I bring you a message where I believe one idea can change your life forever, I want you to know that I bring a confident expectation that you have a team member whose focus, whose desire, whose expectation is that you would succeed in everything you set your hands to. The scripture states, "If God be for you, who can be against you?" Have you ever considered that God is for you? That He desires even more than you do, that you make a success out of your life? You know, the presence of Jesus produces pleasure in life, but it's the principles of Jesus that produce prosperity. Many have found the presence of Jesus and enjoy a walk with Him, but few have found the principles of Jesus that produce true prosperity. In alignment with his goals, Barnes found a way to help other people become more successful. And although he grew fabulously wealthy, Barnes considered his greatest success was that he found a way to make thousands of people live happier and more productive lives. Barnes made himself invaluable in his work, and he was committed to providing his clients with the very best service. Mahatma Gandhi said, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." So why not get busy today? Find your Edison, think your way to the top, and open up a new door to a new tomorrow. Remember, Jesus said, if you want to be great, you must be a servant of all. What is a life of abundance? Napoleon Hill, author of Think and Grow Rich, said, "There are no limitations to the mind except those we acknowledge. Both poverty and riches are the offspring of thought." When God created Adam and Eve, He placed them in a world of material abundance. He blessed Adam and Eve, set them in the center of the garden as stewards over the animals, plants, birds, fish. Everything belonged to them. It was a rich garden of abundance, and God's original intention was that each person created in His image experience the great wealth of this life and of His presence. Yet, Adam and Eve lost sight of the abundance about them. They let their minds drift from God's abundant promises, and ultimately they walked away from the one who had put them in the very center of true riches. What does your eye see? The Scripture says, "The person that has a bountiful eye shall be blessed, for this person gives of his or her bread to the poor." I remember the story of a Russian woman on a very small pension. One morning, she looked into her refrigerator and realized she had only one frozen chicken left and nothing else. Yet in her village, dozens were hungry and without food. That day, she made a decision, and she took that chicken and made a pot of soup. You would think that she would savor every drop of that soup, but she took the soup to the streets and began feeding the hungry. So impressed were her neighbors with her act of kindness that others began supplying bread and even vegetables from their gardens. Even more astounding was the day that the mayor walked by, called his office, and told the city clerk to find a facility for this woman, to open a kitchen, and to supply her with whatever she needed. You know, in the midst of her poverty, she found a principle of true wealth. Her eye was full of abundance, and her thoughts were pointed in that direction. With one chicken, she became the solution for the needy of her community. What new thoughts have you embraced on this way of prosperity? And what principles of wealth do you know? For the Christian, we have the pleasure of Jesus' presence, but many have not discovered the power of His principles. The Holy Scriptures state, God has given us power or ability to obtain wealth. They state that the blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it. The Lord has pleasure in the prosperity of His servant, and the Lord will open to you His good treasure. The Scripture also states that the Lord shall command His blessing upon you in all that you set your hand to. I want to encourage you to take an action step today. Look for an idea to bless someone. Think on this idea. Rehearse the idea, and then you make the idea a reality. Remember, if God is for you, who can be against you?